Welcome, students. In today's video, we will be looking at the Grade 4 Literacy exam for 2024. The test has 30 questions, and you're expected to answer all the questions on the answer sheet provided. So let's get to the questions. All right, so the first question, we will examine a flyer, then answer questions 1 to 5. So let's look at the flyer and the information that it contains. All right, so let me read it for you. The Gleaners Children's Own Back in Schools. Get your weekly Smart Start PEP lessons for grades 4 to 6, literacy and numeracy for grades 1 to 4. The Gleaners Children's Own, supporting you for more than 70 years. For more information, call us at 876-932-6188 or 876-932-6288 or contact your school. Okay, so that's the flyer. Now we're going to look at the first question. All right, so the first question says, which paper is being advertised in the flyer? Is it the Sunday Gleaner, the Daily Gleaner, the Sunday Observer, or the Children's Own? All right, so let's quickly look back at the flyer. All right, so it's saying that the Children's Own is now back in schools. All right, so that's what they are advertising in the flyer, the Children's Own. So the answer is D. Let's get to question 2. Remember, there are 5 questions relating to this flyer, so we're going to be looking at each of them. All right, so question 2 says, how often are PEP lessons available in the paper? All right, gonna go back to the flyer again. For each question, we'll go back to the flyer. All right, so how often? It says get your weekly. So the answer would be once per week, because it says weekly, so once per week, you will find these lessons available. So your answer would be A. All right, question 3. For which group of students is the flyer most likely intended? Would it be students ages 16 to 17, 13 to 15, 6 to 12, or 2 to 4? Now, when we look at what would be contained, it says PEP Smart, PEP lessons for grades 4 to 6, literacy and numeracy for grades 1 to 4. Then the target age would have been students of the primary, at the primary level, so grades 1 to 6. So the age group for those students would be 6 to 12. So the answer would be C, 6 to 12. Question 4. Which phrase suggests that the paper was not available for a while? All right, so let's look at these phrases. Is it for more information? Would that tell us that the paper was not available for a while? Back in schools, contact your school, or for more than 70 years? So which phrase suggests that the paper was not available for a while? All right, so I know what the answer is, but let's go look at the flyer. And in very large letters, it says back in schools. So that would indicate that it had not been available for a while. So I would select B for my answer, back in schools. That tells us that the paper had not been available for a while, but it's back. All right, question 5. This is the last question related to the flyer. Which of the following best describes what is being suggested by the flyer? Is it suggesting that reading the paper may help to improve grades, that children should eat more apples to become healthy, that the paper is sold in 70 schools, or that girls like to read papers? Which would be the correct choice for this question. What is being suggested by the flyer? All right, back in schools, and they talk about the PEP lessons and the literacy lessons and all of that. It says that the children's zone has been supporting you for more than 70 years. All right, there's an app there, but it didn't give us any information about becoming healthy. So the most appropriate would be A, reading the paper may help to improve grades because, of course, they have so many of those lessons that would be appropriate for the different grade levels. All right, so that takes care of the first 5 questions. We are now going to be looking at another passage, and this passage we will use to answer questions 6 to 10. Calico Jack. Negril is a favorite tourist destination today. People began visiting Negril in the 1960s, but it became very popular in 1977. However, that was not always so. Negril was originally inhabited by the Taínos before the Spanish took over the town in 1494. For centuries, Negril was a quiet fishing village. Many pirates made stops there. It was in Negril that the English pirate Calico Jack was captured on October 31st, 1720. Calico Jack spent most of his time in Cuba, but frequently visited Bahamas and Jamaica. He was later brought to Spanish Town to be tried for the crimes he committed. Okay, so when you are doing your exam, if you have to read the passage, more than once, then it would be advised to do so that you understand exactly what is expected of you. So let's look at the first question. For what is Negril most known? Is it for the Taínos, the pirates, tourism, or fishing? All right, let's go back to the passage. And students, even if you want to venture a guess, that's fine. But I always advise my students to make sure that whatever your guess is, go back to the passage. Make sure that you can confirm your guess in the passage. All right, so let's look at it. Yes, they talk about the Taínos and all of that, but Negril is a favorite tourist destination today. Okay, it became very popular in 1977. So the popularity would have been based on tourism. Okay, not the Taínos and the pirates from those centuries back, but it became famous, right? It's well known now for tourism because of all those wonderful beaches that they have down there. That's one of the reasons for its popularity as it relates to tourism. Okay, so question 7. When did the Spanish come to Negril? Again, we have all these dates here. Go back to the passage. Make sure you read carefully. We want to know when the Spanish came to Negril. Okay, so in the first paragraph, the last sentence, it says, Negril was originally inhabited by the Taínos before the Spanish took over the town in 1494. So the Spanish took over the town of Negril in 1494. So when did the Spanish come to Negril? 1494. The answer is A. All right, let's get to the next question. Question 8. Which group of persons were the first to live in Negril? Was it the fishermen, Spanish, pirates, Taínos? Okay, let's go back to the passage again. I could have just simply gave you the answer, but want you to develop, the best practice for comprehension passages. You always go back to check. All right, so the question says, which group of persons were the first to live in Negril? All right, and it says that Negril was originally inhabited, right? Originally inhabited by the Taínos. So that means they were the first people to occupy or to live in Negril, the Taínos. And so for question 8, the answer is D. Students, just as a reminder too, that if you're using a cell phone to view this video, you can always turn the video horizontally, sideways, so that you can see the questions and answers more clearer. All right, question 9. In which country did Calico Jack spend most of his time? Was it Cuba, England, Jamaica, or Bahamas? Again, let's go back to the information about Calico Jack to see where he spent most of in what country he spent most of his time. All right, so in the final paragraph, it says Calico Jack spent most of his time in Cuba, but he frequently visited the Bahamas and Jamaica. So he spent most of his time in Cuba. That's what's indicated by the passage. So the answer would be A, Cuba. All right, question 10. Which statement is true? Calico Jack was a Jamaican. Negril was the capital of Bahamas. Calico Jack had done some bad things. Negril was always a popular tourist destination. Which statement is true? All right, let's see if we can find out. Was Calico Jack a Jamaican? Let's go back to check. All right, in the second paragraph, it says it was in Negril that the English pirate Calico Jack. So Calico Jack was English, all right, not Jamaican. So that one would not be correct. Let's go to the second one. Negril was the capital of Bahamas. All right, so we know that's not true. Negril is in Jamaica. Okay, so Negril is not the capital of the Bahamas. All right, so number 3, Calico Jack had done some bad things. All right, so remember they said that Calico Jack was a pirate. And in the final paragraph, it told us that he was brought to Spanish Town to be tried for the crimes. So crimes would be considered bad things. So yes, that is true. He had done some bad things. All right, let's still look at the final response. Negril was always a popular tourist destination. Is that true? In the first paragraph, it tells us that Negril is a favorite tourist destination today, but it wasn't always very popular. It was always very famous. It became popular in 1977. So it was not always, right, a popular destination. Okay, so the correct answer about what statement is true would be that Calico Jack had done some bad things. All right, so that answers question 10. Let's get to the next part of the paper where we're going to have a table, and we're going to use this table to answer questions 11 to 15. All right, so let me see if I can minimize the paper just a bit so we have all the information on it at once. Remember, guys, you can always switch the paper horizontally, on your phones, so that you can view all the information quite clearly. Okay, so this table shows the number of snacks people bought at a movie theater over 5 days. We're to examine the table, then use it to answer questions 11 to 15. Okay, so we have the days there, and then we also have the type of snack. So we have nachos and cheese, and they show us for each day the number of snacks that were bought, and then they have the total at the end of the week. So we have for nachos and cheese, popcorn, banana chips, and potato chips. Okay, give us the days: Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, Saturday. All right, so there were no dates there for Mondays or Sundays. So let's look at the questions. Question 11 says, which snack had the lowest sale over the 5 days? Was it banana chips, popcorn, potato chips, or nachos and cheese? Let's see which snack had the lowest sales. So to find the lowest sales, we will look at the table, and we will look at where we see the totals, and we can find the totals over here. All right, so these are the totals. And if we look, we see that for nachos and cheese 24, that was super low compared to the other snacks. So nachos and cheese, that had the lowest um total for the week. Okay, so let's go down to where our answer is, and we are going to select nachos and cheese. They had the lowest sale over the 5 days. All right, let's get to question 12. Make it just a bit bigger. All right, so on which day did popcorn record its highest sale? So we're not going to just focus on popcorn and to see which day it recorded its highest sales. Okay, so let's go back to the information. Popcorn. So on a Tuesday 29, Wednesday 47, Thursday 51, Friday 83, on a Saturday 88. So popcorn recorded its highest sales on a Saturday. So the answer would be A. Then question 13. Which snack sold the same amount each day? So which snack we would find the same amount being sold for each of the days listed. And when we look, we see different, nacho and cheese almost had the same amount for each, but on a Wednesday they had a little bit one less. So that's not the same. But for the banana chips is 35 banana chips sold each day. So that was the same amount each day. So we will select banana chips. The answer is C. Question 14. On which day was 67 potato chips sold? So again, we're going to look on the table for where we have potato chips and to see which day had 67 potato chips being sold. So here's potato chips. And where we find 67, that would be on a Wednesday. So on a Wednesday, there were 67. So we'll go back to select Wednesday for question B. Question 14, sorry, the answer is B. And then question 15, which is the most popular snack? All right, how would we find out now what is the most popular snack? When we look at the totals, right, it will have the highest amount being sold. And so if we look at the totals, nacho and cheese 24, again, we had already recognized that had identified that as having the lowest sales. Popcorn 298, banana chips 175, but potato chips was 389. So potato chips had the highest sale of all the snacks. We'd have thought if it's a movie, popcorn, but I guess potato chips, that's why it's not good to guess. We have to make sure that we do our check. So the question 15, the correct response would be C, potato chips. That's the most popular because it had the most being sold. All right, so again, we have another passage. And this passage, we're going to use it to answer questions 16 to 20. So we're pretty much halfway through the paper at this point. All right, so the Denby Agricultural Show. Natalie was excited. Today was her first time at the Denby Agricultural Show. Her older sister, Khadija, boasted about having gone to Denby the year before on a youth club field trip. Her younger brother, Kevin, didn't seem to care much. He was busy texting his friend O'Neill. Upon entering, her parents stopped where a man was selling soup. Natalie's mom bought soup for the family. The smell made Natalie's mouth water. It was hot and delicious. Red pea soup with beef and cow skin in it, and lots of corn. Natalie started thinking about all the food she planned to sample today. Jerk chicken, ackee and saltfish, jackass corn, asham. A man wearing water boots and a large straw hat walked by where the family was standing. He was leading a large brown bull by a rope. They had never seen cows close up before, but this bull seemed extremely huge. It had large horns, a hump on its back, and it seemed unsettled by the crowds. Everyone was busy scampering out of its way. Again, students, if you have to read the passage more than once, then that's what you do. All right, so question 15, how many persons are in Natalie's family, including her? So how many people are in her family? So we have Natalie, that's one. We spoke about her older sister, that's two. Her younger brother, Kevin, that's three. And her parents. So that would be five in all, the three children and mother and father. So that would be B5. Let's get to question 17. How did Natalie feel about going to Denby? Was she looking forward to it? She was afraid to go. It really didn't matter to her. She felt it was a waste of time. Let's go back to the passage. All right, the very first thing we saw was that in the first paragraph, Natalie was excited. Today was her first time, right? So she was excited. That means she was looking forward to it, okay? Her sister had told her about her visit and boasted about going there before and what she did there. So now Natalie was looking forward to it and she was excited. Now, who had been to Denby before? Of course, I just said it, but let's go back to the passage. Was it Natalie, Natalie's father, Natalie's brother, or Natalie's sister? And in the first paragraph again, it says her older sister Khadijah boasted about having gone to Denby the year before on a youth club field trip. So her sister had been to Denby before. So for 18, the answer would be D, Natalie's sister. Question 19. Which food did Natalie's family have first? Okay, so I'm sure they had a lot of things, but let's see what they had first. All right, so towards the end of the first paragraph, they spoke about the soup, right? So it says, upon entering, her family stopped where a man was selling soup. So as soon as they entered, that's the first thing. And Natalie's mom brought soup for the family, was red pea soup with beef and cow skin, all right? So the first thing they had was the soup, the red pea soup. So the answer for question 19 would be C. Then question 20. The man leading the bull is most likely Natalie's dad, O'Neill's dad, a fisherman, or a farmer. So let's go back to that part of the passage. It says, a man wearing water boots and a large straw hat walked by. He was leading the bull by a rope. So it would be safe to assume that this person was a farmer, okay? Cattle farmer. So the answer for question 20 would be D. All right, so this part of the paper, okay, so I need to rotate this so we can see. All right, so we're gonna have to do a little bit of rotation for this part because of the direction the paper was. All right, so it says a notice below was, let me make it a bit smaller so we can see the information. All right, so it says a notice below was placed on a school's notice board. Read it carefully, then use it to answer questions 21 to 26. All right, so the notice there we see some children with basketballs, a group of girls, and then a group of boys. All students, so here's a notice, all students who wish to try out for the school's basketball teams must hand in a permission slip signed by their parents. Permission slips should be given to Miss Piven in the main office no later than September 29, 2023. Tryouts begin on October 17, 2023. Tryouts for the girls' team are on Tuesdays, 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock with Miss Newville in the auditorium. Tryouts for the boys' teams are on Thursdays, 2:30 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. with Mr. Ormsby on the basketball court. Signed, Mr. D. Evans, PE teacher, September 7, 2023. All right, so I'm going to have to be doing some maneuvering now because of this slide that has this sheet that has the wrong orientation. So I'll have to redo so we can see. Perhaps I might not necessarily go back to, all right, let me see what I can do here. Okay, so, all right, so what I'm going to have to do for this sheet is, all right, for not for this one, for the questions, what I'll do, rotate it, and then we'll leave the question paper as is. I'll just read the information from that. All right, so for question 21, it says, tryouts begin at what time for the girls? So at what time does the tryouts begin for the girls? And the paper is sideways, but I'll read it for you. It says tryouts for the girls team are on Tuesdays 3 to 5. So the tryouts for the girls begin at 3 o'clock. Okay, so the answer for question 21 would be D, 3 o'clock. All right, let's get to question 22. How many basketball teams does the school have? So remember, they have a tryout for boys and a tryout for the girls team. So there are 2 teams, one for the boys and one for the girls. So the answer would be B, 2. Question 23, to whom should the permission slips be given? Okay, so let's go back to where they talk about the permission slips. Again, this flyer is now going to be sideways, but it says permission slip should be given to Miss Piven in the main office. So the person to whom the permission slip should be given would be A, Miss Piven. Okay. Then question 24 says, when will the first tryout be held? Okay, was it September 29th, September 7th, October 17th, or October 2? When would the first tryouts be held? All right, so it says tryouts for the girls are on Tuesday. All right, so it says Tuesday. Didn't tell us, but it says tryouts will begin on October 17, right? That's when the tryouts will begin, October 17. So then we know that the tryouts will begin on October 17. All right, they would have handed in the permission slips by September 29th. The tryouts begin October 17. The answer is C. Question 25. Who will be in charge of tryouts for the girls' team? So let's go back to see who is in charge of the girls. And it says tryouts for the girls' teams are on Tuesday with Mrs. Newville. So that's Miss Newville. That's D. So question 25, the answer is D. And then question 26, Miss Pyron is most likely the coach for the girls team, the principal, secretary, coach for the boys team, assistant coach. Let's go back to Miss Pyron. And it says that permission slip should be given to Miss Pyron in the main office. So I'm going to assume that this would be the principal's secretary. She's in the main office. So I'm going to say she's the principal's secretary. Okay, so we are now at the final passage because it says you read the passage, then answer questions 27 to 30. And this passage, guys, this particular passage was on a previous paper. So that means that there are possibilities that some of these questions will be repeated on the upcoming exam. So it's very good if you can review these so that you never know, you might end up seeing these same questions on your exam. All right, so not the question, the passage reads, Jordan returns to school. On the morning that school reopened, Jordan was feeling very miserable. He grumbled to himself all through breakfast. He had spent many happy days fishing and relaxing down by the river. He played exciting games of cricket, football, basketball, and dominoes with his friends who were also on holiday. But today was the first day of school. 8 weeks he felt was not long enough to be away from school. All right, and this was by Clifford Singh. Okay, so what made, question 27, what made Jordan miserable? Okay, was it 8 weeks of holiday, eating breakfast, the walk to school, or the reopening of school? He was feeling miserable because school had reopened and he was feeling very miserable. All right, so he loved being on holidays and all the exciting things that he did. So he was miserable because school had reopened. All right, question 28. Jordan grumbled to himself. This means that he was, what? Why did he grumble to himself? What does that mean? All right, he grumbled to himself all through breakfast. Did that mean he was not enjoying the food, complaining quietly, already full, complaining loudly? So if he was grumbling to himself, it means he was complaining quietly. Okay? Not making much of a noise, just to himself, not being very loud. All right, so question 29. Which best describe Jordan's holiday? Boring, enjoyable, long, or miserable? Let's look at Jordan's holiday. He had spent many happy days fishing and relaxing, playing exciting games of cricket, football, and dominoes, etc. So I would say that his holiday had been enjoyable. All right, and then we are now at the final question on the paper. Which holiday was Jordan on before returning to school? So we know that he had been on holiday for 8 weeks, all right? But now school had reopened. So I'm thinking he would have been on summer holidays before school. So that would be D, not Christmas. You don't get 8 weeks of holiday. Usually summer would give you the most time home, right? So that would be D. All right, so we are at the end of the test, students. You just have to make sure that you read the passages carefully. Always check your answers. Even if you think you know what the answer is, make sure you check by reading again the passage or seeing where the information will be located. And if you do that, you should be very successful in your exam. So, as I always say, see you in the next video.